I didn't catch half of that. My reception is terrible.
It's not important. We could talk personally later, not this committee work.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate it. My reception is terrible at the moment, though. So I'm catching every other word.
Is anyone else having trouble hearing me? Because I have a feeling it might be me.
No.
I can hear you okay, Karen.
Okay, because I was having some Comcast problems earlier. Please, people on the committee, advise me if I start breaking up, and I will switch to going over my cellular, using a hotspot, because that we've been having weird Comcast, you know, when everyone in the neighborhood comes home and signs on, it just totally trashes your signal. Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:03. Mr. Secretary, when you are ready, if you could take the roll. Mr. Secretary, did you hear me?
Yeah, sorry. Again, my internet's just been cutting in and out. All right, so we're in order.
Yes, we are. It's at 7:03, and I gave you sharing permissions.
All right. I started doing this and then my internet was acting up. All right.
Okay, while you are doing that, because I do see, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Looks like we have 11 committee members. We certainly have, I believe it was 9 we needed for quorum, or is it 10? Did we lose the secretary? It appears we have. He will be able to get this from the recording.
Hey, is this any better?
Yeah, that is.
Okay, I switched to my phone instead of my computer, so hopefully that'll work.
So in order just to make sure we're not proceeding without quorum in the absence of the secretary, I know Clayton is an alternate. Is anyone else here an alternate that I may be inadvertently counting?
Me.
But yeah, you're, as far as I'm concerned, you're a primary, because we have several LNC appointees who have never attended a meeting or have only attended one meeting. So besides Starchild, is there, and Clayton, are there any other alternates here? Okay, I am just then going to name out everyone for the recording that the secretary can then use for his attendance sheet that is here, and also to show that we have quorum. We have Mark Bremen, we have myself, we have Curry Taylor, we have Ted Brown, we have Starchild, we have Sean Dempsey, we have Joseph Brungart, we have Joshua McCose, we have Ken Mattis, we have John Thompson, and we have Mike Seebeck. We have as alternate for Colorado, Clayton Casciato. There is opportunity for public comment. We have one member of the public, Eric Thrain. If you wish to address the committee, Mr. Thrain.
I'm just listening, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And in relation to the concerns that Mr. Thrain had, I did post them to the list. A committee member would need to move a reconsideration or an addition, if they were interested, or consider a minority report. Continuing, and Mr. Secretary, I called out the roll on the recording so you could get it from there. We're just going to move on past that. We are now on the continuation of your proposal on 3.6 representative government. I know the secretary put the marked up copy on the list. And I'm going to see if I can pull that up. Mr. Ricuro, are you able
Yeah,
to?
Do you see it on screen?
1 second, let me, you know how Zoom is, it's hiding all my windows. Let's see.
Yep.
Show all windows. Yes, I do. Okay, so that, oh, I want to move that to a different window though. Let me minimize that. So that is what we are on. Mr. Cachado had requested to see that. And I'll give everyone a chance to take a look at that on the screen. Mr. Bremen.
Yes, with some regret, I suggest an amendment. So in the phrasing that I suggested yesterday, and express inclusion of none of the above on all ballots, I believe I made a mental mistake by using the word express. I was fixed in my memory of using the word express in the first sentence under express dissent, and now we've got express being used in two different meanings, one as a verb and one as an adjective. I think this second express should be changed to explicit, and explicit inclusion of none of the above on all ballots. Please let me know if that's too much of a burden to change that. I think it reads better if we don't use express two times.
Yeah,
We have-
good point.
We have an amendment now to strike out express in the phrasing dealing with none of the above. And Mr. Bremen did speak to it. Would anyone else like to speak?
Okay, Madam Chair, we're getting rid of the first express, right?
No, the
No.
second one. Okay, Star Child?
Not
Yeah,
just get, excuse me, not just get rid of it, but change it to explicit.
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, this I think makes very good sense, and I totally support what Mark's proposing. I don't see it as probably being controversial. I would suggest perhaps the chair could just ask if there's any objection to making this change.
Which I always do after people's hands aren't raised. I can't preclude anyone
Sure.
who wishes to speak. Mr. Seebeck?
Yeah, I'm just asking to wait and let the secretary catch up here real fast because I'm not quite sure. I didn't catch exactly what's being amended here because of my reception. So can we hold up just for a moment?
Okay.
I think I found it. That's what we want, explicit, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm cool. Thank you.
Okay, would anyone else like to speak to this? Okay, seeing no one, is there any objection to adopting this amendment? Seeing none, this is adopted. We are back on the main motion as multi-amended, my new word. Would anyone like to speak on the main motion? Okay, seeing none, is there any objection to adopting the main motion as multiple times amended? Seeing none, that's adopted. Yay. Okay. Now, we are moving on the agenda, which I'm giving the secretary time to catch up. I'm trying to get some housekeeping done for the survey so as not to confuse members, even though we know what we're doing. Proposal, which is going to be our proposal C, which I'll give the secretary an opportunity to get up on the screen. It is linked in the agenda. We need to make a numbering decision on proposal C, not P.
A whole bunch here. I gotta find it.
Yeah, it's okay. Got it is. No, that's W. Oh, there, no,
Okay.
you said that, but it's C. Okay. This was, we wanted to move free trade. And right now it's entitled Free Trade and Migration. I believe later on in the agenda, there were multiple proposals on 3.4 that we're going to need to address. I suggest at that time, we deal with a potential proposal for a rename of this, though that would, I think, be in order now when we're looking at this, because now actually maybe later, because how we decide to handle the splitting of free trade and migration. And I think this is something, if we end up wanting to change the name, we could probably handle by email ballot, but we do need to decide where this would go in section 1. Right now, as we have things proposed, I believe space exploration we decided would be 1.10. And we just basically need to look at the platform and decide, do we want to just put this at the very end? Or do we think it logically goes earlier? In which case everything else would be automatically renumbered. So what we might want to do at this point, Mr. Secretary, is pull up the platform, section 1, so that we could see if there's a motion on where to put it. And I actually do have a suggestion. I believe 1.2 would be the best place to put it, as it's talking about movement of people's bodies. And 1.1 is where it talks about the ownership of one's body and those sorts of bodily rights. Later on, it kind of parses it out more, where I think free movement's a wider thing, but I'm not making any motions. I'm just suggesting that making it the new 1.2 might be logical. Star Child?
Yeah, I agree with that suggestion, Karen Ann, but I think it's vital that we split this into 2 planks. I really
That
don't
is being
understand why the
considered.
decision, was made.
That's later in the agenda, though. That's not appropriate right now.
Well, that I just, I think we need to make sure that gets done. I don't know why free trade was lumped in with migration to begin with. It doesn't really, I mean, they're such
I understand, but can we
large
please,
topics each on their own that
can we please stick to what we're talking about right now?
moving it to 1.2
Or wherever. Someone needs to make a motion. That was a suggestion by the chair,
Okay.
not a motion.
Okay. I move that we move this plank to 1.2 and renumber the subsequent planks in section 1, and also that we retitle it Freedom of Movement. And then we can address the moving the free trade material later when that comes up in the agenda to a separate plank of its own.
That would be. Okay, you're allowed to make that motion to do both. I was just considering it, though someone may divide that, but so freedom of movement to change the name, and moving to 1.2 is the motion on the floor. Do you wish to speak further to that?
No, I'll just open it up to debate.
Okay, Mr. Bremen.
Madam Chair, thank you. I have a point of inquiry. I am embarrassed to say if this language was what has appeared in our minutes, it doesn't correspond with my memory. I distinctly remember trying to get rid of the phrase human capital for the ref.
We did, and this has come up multiple times, and let me try to explain what happened. They were all done as separate proposals.
Oh, okay.
I do think they need to be merged and reconciled. I have that on the agenda,
Okay.
but as they stand right now, they are separate proposals.
All right.
And this proposal as it is needs a home.
Okay.
I do think the committee will resolve all these weird tensions right now we have with this plank and the multiple proposals when it comes up.
Okay.
But you're correct. Your memory is correct. The committee would be, you would be in order, Mr. Bremen, to move to postpone consideration of Star Child's motion until after we deal with the competing proposals on 3.4, if that would help.
I think
So
that's
moved.
so moved.
Okay.
Yes.
I ask that whoever just yelled that, please don't, you need to be recognized. But Mr. Bremen was recognized and made that motion to move to the agenda to immediately after we consider the tensions we have with the competing proposals on 3.4. I'm going to ask, is there any objection to Mr. Bremen's move to postpone?
I guess I object because I think moving it and retitling it would be, I think, fairly simple as opposed to getting into the weeds. If we get that done quickly, then we can, separate the stuff out and move the migration stuff or reword the migration stuff and move the free trade stuff. But I guess I don't see a particular need to postpone the basic moving of the migration plank to 1.2 as you suggested, and the simple retitling to exclude free trade. Seems like we could get that done quickly.
Okay, I'm going to do something unorthodox here and the committee can slap me. Is anyone intending upon voting no on the motion to postpone? I don't think you're reading the room, Star Child, and we're going to waste more time voting and arguing.
Actually, I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand your question. That's what I was saying.
I know you were. I said, is anyone else intending? I'm trying, and I am stepping out of bounds a little bit here. I'm admitting that, but I'm trying to get this committee a little bit more efficient by asking people to please read the room so that we are not wasting time on votes on things that aren't substantive that are going to fail.
Well, I think perhaps a lot of it depends on how you ask the question. If you ask, is there, any objection to quickly moving the plank now and retitling it, that might also get no objections. It's okay. Sort of like
no, the motion is on the floor. I asked if there was objections. You said you object, which means you will. I'm not going to argue about this anymore. Mr. Secretary, please go to a vote. Apparently, we're going to waste time. Mr. Seebeck, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I am royally confused. What are we voting on here? I've got lost back there.
Correct, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, Mr. Secretary.
This is on postponement.
Yes, Mr. Bremen felt that we should reconcile the competing proposals of 3.4 before deciding on numbering and titling. So he moved, which is coming up in the agenda. He moved to postpone Star Child's motion until after we know the final language of what this is all going to look at like, because we have to resolve competing proposals. There was an objection, so we are moving on whether or not.
Okay, I got it now. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Mark Bremen.
Wait, hold on one moment.
Oh.
Mr. Bremen, did I mischaracterize your motion?
Not at all. That was my intention, was to iron out the language before we decide where it goes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr.
All right.
Secretary?
Well, I'll withdraw my objection then. We can go to, I mean, it really doesn't matter that much either way. I just thought, it sort of the postponement thing kind of derailed what could have been a quick decision. But since we're now in the weeds, let's just go to
Okay, I will
fixing the
ask,
wording first.
I will ask once again. So is there any objection to adopting the motion to postpone? And the chair will acknowledge she did step a bit out of her bounds there, but my intent is good, that I really want to get through these things, and with some committee members privately have expressed frustration with me on some things that seem to not go as smoothly as they could. So you all feel free to scold me if you believe my behavior was inappropriate. Okay, next. Is consider potential resolution of competing proposals on 3.7. I have the links. So, okay, this is going to be kind of hard because they're to get them both on the screen. Now, we do not. Okay, so we have one in which we have two proposals that passed. This one that's on the screen was simply to just delete and to agree to such new governance as to them shall seem most likely to protect their liberty. Could you please pull up the other one, Mr. Secretary? Just one moment, please.
At a point of order, I'm just confused now. 3.7 is a totally different plank. That's not free trade and migration.
It's not, because that was later in the agenda.
Oh.
And it was moved till,
Okay.
it wasn't immediately next in the agenda.
All right.
Okay, and this is the other one.
I'm trying something,
oh,
Madam Chair. I'm sharing both
okay.
of them side by side. I hope that's legible.
Okay, so as you can see, these two are mutually exclusive. So we need to decide between which of these two are going to be the committee proposal, or find a way to square the circle to merge the two. I'm giving everyone a chance to take a look at them.
Madam Chair, as a request for information, can you state that question again? You're asking whether or not we want to consider one and the other?
Well, they're mutually exclusive. It isn't, they aren't of a nature where we can present them as two separate proposals, because if, say, proposal PCH passed, it makes PCP unintelligible. And if PCP passes, it makes PCH render PCP unintelligible. These are two mutually exclusive proposals. We can't propose them both. We either have to find a way to merge the two or pick one. The way I'm going to make a suggestion, not a motion, that I suggest we handle this is treating them as two perfected competing substitutes, with the earlier one, PCH, being the primary motion, and PCP, well, that actually won't work either. Basically suggesting we need to make a motion that somebody needs to move to accept one or over the other, unless somebody has some combination language. Star Child.
Yeah. Point of information. I thought that I'm seeing these two we talked about a separate blank for secession. I'm trying to remember what the status of that was.
No, we didn't have a separate plank. It was added to,
I see it added in the one proposal here. I just thought that there was, didn't we discuss having it in a different place entirely or something?
it was in
as a freestanding
debate.
plank. Did we not do anything with that? I can't remember.
This is what's on the screen is what ended up being passed by the committee, not a separate plank.
Okay. Well, I'd like to speak in favor of the language that includes secession. And I think it's important to put that somewhere in the platform. There's nothing wrong with the simpler language as far as it goes, but mentioning the right to withdraw from a political union is I think just as important to get in there as to express our support for people having the right to alter or abolish a political union. And if we don't have it as a separate plank somewhere else, I think it makes sense to put it here. And this is something really important for us to mention. So I would move that I don't remember what your language was, but prefer the first,
you're
the
moving.
PCP.
Yeah, you're moving that, and let me know if I mischaracterize you. You're moving that the committee adopt PCP as its proposal over PCH,
Correct.
meaning instead of PCH.
Yeah, assuming we don't have something somewhere else that would accomplish the same function.
And we do not, but I will appoint just to let the committee know, somebody feels strongly one way or the other and their preferred plank isn't the one the committee adopts, you could always submit the other one as a minority report if there is support. Just wanted to let people know. And that's really the best way if we want them both before the body and in the survey is for whichever one loses, for enough people to sponsor it as a minority report. Mr. Taylor, then I have Mr. Brungart, Mr. Secretary, and Mr. Bremen.
Yeah, I will go ahead and second Star Child's motion to adopt PCP. I think of the two, we spent a lot more time on PCP. We kind of really gave it some thought in a little bit more detail than the other proposal. It does have a lot of additional clarification and language in it that I think most of the committee liked. So I think it's a good proposal, and I think we should support that one.
Thank you so much, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Brungart.
Yeah, I agree. Let's do it.
Man, a few words. Thank you, Mr. Brungart. Mr. Secretary.
So, Madam Chair, if you can explain this to me again, why do you feel that both of these are so different? Because I know that looking at the vote totals, or at least I think I have to go back and look at the votes. And in proposal P, the 822, I think I'm part of that too, of the nay votes, because I didn't like this. And then the other one is 1211. I might be in one of those ones. So why are they so distinctly different that they can't compete in the report? Can you explain that again? Because I'm struggling here. I feel like they could.
Well, because one renders each of them incomprehensible. The way when you are presenting proposals on the floor that you can have multiple proposals or on the same plank is if they deal with separate sections and can complement each other. But if, say, in the ordering, we did PCH first and it passed, it would render PCP incomprehensible because it just deleted language that is necessary for PCP to make sense as the committee considered it.
Huh. Okay, I was gonna disagree with you about the incomprehensible thing, but when you put it that way, okay, I see what you're saying.
They can compete as a minority report, because remember, the convention floor could always choose the minority report, and it has multiple times over. I know under Roberts, you never say the majority report. However, our bylaws call it the majority report. So
Do they
Boo-hoo to
really? I
Robert.
could have sworn they called it the committee report.
Nope, they call it the majority report. I
Gee.
used to needle Alicia about that. I know it very well because she would skip me every time I said majority report.
Yeah.
And she and I like needling each other. But Roberts does
Yeah,
say,
that bothers
just if
me.
you're ever on any other committee, don't use the term majority report. That's not allowed. Generally.
Yeah, I know that, and that would bother me too. Okay. Well,
So now I know I can needle you too. Thank you.
yeah. All right. I guess I have nothing else. I'm not sure how I'm going to vote on this, but if that's what the committee wants, and that's what the committee wants. All right. I yield.
Mr. Bremen.
In the name of speeding things up again, I know this again may not be totally proper procedure, but could I suggest that if one of these, the one that's the one that doesn't win, nevertheless gets 4 votes, that we immediately consider that a minority report without having to take a separate motion, which might happen later on in the agenda?
Minority reports are done outside of the committee. The committee cannot adopt or authorize a minority report. So what I would suggest is if there's at least 4 no votes, that those people get together off list or even on list. You can discuss a minority report on list. But the committee itself in a meeting can't, because it's not the majority report.
All right.
If I could just chime in, Madam Chair, that would defeat the purpose. That's why it's a minority report.
Yes. Okay, would anyone else like to speak? Now, I suggest the committee look in chat. Mr. McCose did suggest a possible combination that could be moved if Star Child's motion fails. It wouldn't be appropriate at this time, but just something for people to look at in chat. Okay, thank you, Mr. McCose. I just wanted to alert people that that was going on in chat. Seeing no further discussion on Star Child's motion, which is that the committee adopt proposal PCP as its proposal instead of PCH, which would then not be in the majority report. Is there any objection to that motion? Seeing none, that will then be the committee's proposal. I do encourage anyone who had trepidation and wished PCH to be a minority report to either go off list and have a private discussion, or even do it on list, because sometimes you can gather more signatures. I know people have disagreed with me in the past, but there's been prior rulings of the chair that you can sign on to both, meaning just because you didn't object to PCP, past conventions have allowed you to still sign on to a minority report. Even signing on to multiple minority reports. I know Mr. Starr disagrees. We had this debate before, but that practice has been upheld in past conventions, and that would also be my ruling, though obviously the convention body would have the ultimate say. Okay, next one. At this point, I am going to ask Mr. Brown to assume the gavel. We're on item E, which is a proposal from Mr. Ricuro. Just a brief explanation, even though as chair, I don't have to abandon the chair. In order to debate, I prefer to. It's just my practice. I prefer someone else to preside when I am intending upon engaging in substantive debate. Mr. Brown, the gavel is yours.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so the Requero proposal as is posted is this is regarding personal income and government finance. So the part of it is changing the title from government finance to personal income and government finance. And the wording is, and it's not up on the screen yet, but I'm looking at the agenda. The Libertarian Party calls for the repeal of the income tax, the abolishment of the Internal Revenue Service, and all federal programs and services not required under the Constitution. Later, all individuals are entitled to keep the fruits of their labor and to determine which mediums of exchange they will accept for their personal transactions. And let's see, further along, to the extent possible, we advocate that all public services be funded or allowed to be provided in a voluntary manner. Now, I do have a real quick myself amendment because there's a grammatical problem, I think, in the first part where it should say, I think, the Libertarian Party calls for the repeal of the income tax and I would say, abolition of the Internal Revenue Service and all federal programs and services not required under the Constitution. Basically, by putting a comma after income tax, you don't have like a series of equal items there, for one thing. And so an and would be appropriate there instead of the comma. And abolishment is a word that I never even thought really existed. I've seen it in some of our other writings, but I looked in the dictionary and it exists, but abolition is much more common usage. So I do have that amendment for as phrased, the Libertarian Party calls for the repeal of the income tax and the abolition of the Internal Revenue Service and all federal programs, et cetera. So I've kind of spoken to that. So let's look at hands up. Mark Bremen.
To make it a little more parallel, I think a better, slightly better phrasing would be the Libertarian Party calls for repeal of the income tax. So eliminate the word the, repeal of the income tax, abolition of the Internal Revenue Service, and elimination of all federal programs and services not required under the US Constitution.
Actually, I like that. I would accept that as a substitute for the one I proposed.
So I guess it has to be done as an amendment, I think.
Well, is there any objection to switching Mr. Bremen's amendment for my amendment?
Mr. Bremen, could you put that in chat, please?
Okay.
And hearing no immediate objection, let's move to Mr. Bremen's amendment as the amendment that we're considering.
I think we'd like to see it and be able to compare the wording, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Let's wait for the secretary to put that up.
Or Mark to type it in chat, perhaps.
Mr. Brown, if I get a chance, I haven't put my hand up, but if I get a chance, I'd like to speak to this.
Oh, sure, of course. Let's get that on the screen first so everybody else can take a look.
I'm trying to type it. I'm on my phone. I don't have a keyboard.
If you read it, I could type it in chat.
Calls for repeal.
Eliminate the in front of repeal.
Yeah.
Just if you just maybe say the language that you want to substitute, and I'll type that.
Libertarian Party calls for repeal of the income tax, abolition of the Internal Revenue.
Let's see.
Take out
We're getting rid of the there also.
Abolition of the Internal Revenue Service.
Yeah, so delete the and change abolishment to abolition. Are we frozen there? Can you hear me?
Mark?
Yeah.
So take out the where the cursor is right now.
Yeah, and just abolition.
And then after revenue service, put a comma. Oh, I don't care if you put the Oxford comma.
Yeah, Oxford comma, yeah.
The Oxford comma is required, by the way, by our style guide. I'm sorry to jump in, but.
No, that's fine. Yeah, and then.
So after and, elimination of.
Okay, this looks like an accurate amendment then, and let's see who's trying to speak on that. Mr. Requero wanted to speak on that as soon as he's got the language there.
And I just wanted to make it clear, Mr. Chair, I'd like to be recognized once we're back on the main motion.
Oh, sure.
Mr. Brown, are we getting rid of first duh?
The first, Libertarian Party calls for repeal of the income tax, abolition of the IRS, and elimination of all federal programs. Yeah.
Okay.
So discussion on that. Did you wish to discuss that? You mentioned before that you did.
Well, I wanted to speak on the main motion
Oh, okay.
as the introducer, but
In that case, is there anyone else? Oh, here we go. On the amendment, Starchild.
On the amendment, I guess no. I'm fine with the amendment changing what's in there now. I had another point.
Okay, well, leave your hand up, then we'll get back to you when we get to the main motion. Mr. Bremen, did you wish to speak again, or do you want to wait for the main motion?
I'll wait for the main motion. Thank you.
Okay, well, seeing no one else wishing to speak on the amendment, is there any objection to this amendment? Hearing none, let's move to the main motion. Mr. Requero.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. One moment to just type this in. 9:43. So I was, I would have been in favor of abolition. I remember you put that on the list, but you had put it on, I think, just after I shipped the language to the chair. So I was like, yeah, we'll do it during the meeting. So briefly, I'll just say that as I've been going through this deep dive of the platform, I've always felt that where all the things that government does wrong, that we dislike, that we call out on a constant basis, it starts right here. It starts with economics. You know, recently, and Mr. Bremen was talking about this, about how you couldn't go out in public in some places. I mean, just they can't enforce these things without revenue. And the first place it starts is the income tax. It's so, no matter how radical or how pragmatic you may fall, what side of the aisle you fall on, this is the reason I'm rewording and restructuring this plank is because our position should be flat out right there at the beginning. This is the position, and then here's the problem and the solution at the end. I mentioned that yesterday. So I think it's cleaner, and I think it's just, it's really important at this, given everything that's going on, to make this particular message. And I don't think it locks our candidates into any kind of corner. And it's something I've been looking at and sitting on for a while. And finally, the words came to me one day, and I thank everybody for giving me some feedback on the list to make it a little bit more readable. And even right now, with the way it's proposed, I'm going to get the language on the screen right now. It's still very readable, and I hope that the committee will adopt it. I'm curious as to what the chair has to say about this. She mentioned something about history or something historical. And, I'm someone that, that very, very much respects the history of the party and the platform. So, but for the moment, I favor this language, and I hope the committee will favor this language as well. I think it says what it needs to say, and I think that it will be well received by the delegates.
Okay, very good. Ms. Harless.
Okay, I'm going to move a substitute, and in arguing for, I will satisfy Mr. Recuro's question about my history objection, but I figured since I was going to be engaging in full debate, I might as well do a substitute, which was on the agenda, and I'll wait for the secretary to get it on the screen, but I will read the plank as it would read if my substitute were adopted. It'll be hard to tell what I'm suggesting changing until he gets it on the screen, but it would read, since we believe that all persons are entitled to keep the fruits of their labor, we oppose all government activity which consists of the forcible collection of money or goods from individuals in violation of their individual rights, and call for the eventual repeal of all taxation. To further that end, and then it continues as the plank was, we call for the repeal of the income tax. Nothing gets changed there. And I included in my substitute Mr. Recuro's "or allowed to be provided in a voluntary manner," since I did like that. My reason for opposition is a reason that Mr. Recuro gave for his support of his other. He goes, we need to state our position right up front. Yeah, we do. And our position isn't just to repeal the income tax. That statement in our platform to repeal the income tax has led to so much confusion and debate in this party of people who think that is all we want to get rid of. And make no bones about it, I know a lot of people don't like it. The historic position of this party is the eventual repeal of all taxation, not just the income tax. The income tax was singled out because it's the most doable on the short term, but we never intended to stop there. All of our past platforms indicated this. And after the Portland massacre, it was agreed upon that it would keep up at front a statement from our statement of principles. All persons are entitled to keep the fruits of their labor. That is a direct quote from the statement of principles. We have always started this plank with that language for 50 years. To move the income tax as being the primary goal seems to imply that we are interpreting that all persons are entitled to keep the fruits of their labor only applies to the income tax, and it doesn't. It applies to all taxation. And to put income tax first is just going to further confuse people and dilute down our position, our historic position in the way that this plank has been worded, even past the Portland massacre for 50 years. And as I said, this is something that I feel so strongly about, that if the committee passes flipping that around, I will ask someone else to argue this, and I will argue a minority report if I could get signers with language similar to what I said, or just to keep the original. This is something not to screw around with. So
Okay.
I am moving my proposal, my
Okay,
substitute.
Okay, what is your view of adding right after your proposal, the language we just adopted in that amendment, which would flow into that as well? It would be equally as good in this proposal.
I have no problem with that. Since if there's no objection, I would like that income tax abolishment, whatever thing that passed in the primary, to be included in my substitute. So I would include that as part of my substitute.
Okay, so that would give us, since we believe that all persons are entitled to keep the fruits of their labor, we oppose all government activity which consists of the forcible collection of money or goods from individuals in violation of their individual rights, and call for the eventual repeal of all taxation. To further that end, we call for repeal of the income tax, abolition of the Internal Revenue Service, and elimination of all federal programs and services not required under the U.S. Constitution.
And I would like to add one more thing, if the chair will indulge me to my argument. If people do not like my substitute, I would encourage us to just then leave this plank alone and vote them both down.
Okay, let's go on to, let's see, Mr. Secretary, let's see, is that all in there?
I wanted to ask, what did we want to do?
Oh, we were gonna change after "to further that end," and we call for, we're gonna go to the language of that other amendment. It would be "to further that end, we call for repeal of the income tax," like up there in the third line of the amendment here. To further that end. Let's see, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. To further that end, we call for repeal, like delete the, we call for repeal of the income tax. I'm not seeing if my screen's frozen or Mr. Secretary, are you adding that in there? I'm not seeing it. Oh, we lost him.
We lost him.
Oh, we lost him. Okay. Well, he can get, I think we already saw the previous amendment. So let's move back to just some debate on the main motion. We'll get back to the exact wording there. let's see, in the order of people that were, Star Child was on the list previously. Star Child?
Thank you, Ted. I would like to propose an amendment to replace the word keep, where it says all individuals are entitled to keep the fruits of their labor. I would like to replace that with all individuals are entitled to decide how to allocate the fruits of their labor. I think that that is not only a broader expression of freedom and how people are able to dispose of their income and resources, but it you know, in terms of public messaging and communications, I think it sort of helps avoid a little bit the stereotype about libertarians just being selfish and just wanting to keep all our money. You know, keeping obviously is still part of deciding how to allocate, but you know, this makes it clear we're not just about saying everybody should keep their money and not share it, but you know, just they should be the decision maker as to how that money is shared or spent or saved or invested or whatever.
Okay, Star Child, could you do me a favor and type that into the chat feature? Because we have the secretary back and he's going to try to get the original wording up here, and then he'll be able to.
It actually
have
already
your
is in the
wording.
chat at 1838. I posted that. Just
Okay,
scroll
we'll
up
get,
a little bit.
we'll
Just
get back
point
to that
of
in a moment.
inquiry, that's to the primary motion, correct, Star Child?
Well, I support your substitute, Karen Ann. So I would rather amend that language if possible. You know, I'm not sure the order of how to best accomplish that, but
I'm leaving it to the chair to decide the order.
Okay, hold on. Looks like I thought we had the secretary. Oh no, he is back. Okay, I didn't think he was back. Okay, I want to let's stand by for just a second while he catches up with the other wording. Mr. Secretary, are you able to catch up on that first part of the change that we discussed before?
Do you see it on the screen?
No. To further that end, up there on the third line, to further that end, we call for repeal of the income tax. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, the abolition of the Internal Revenue Service, comma, and elimination of all federal programs. Elimination of, yeah, there we go.
And
There's
drop
a-
the in front of abolition.
Yeah. Right, the abolition of the IRS and the elimination of all federal programs and services. Okay, so that brings us
Drop
to
the in front of abolition. That was taken out.
where are we? Oh yeah, abolition of the Internal Revenue Service. So back up on that line to before abolition. There we go. Yeah, the is gone also. Okay, so now we have the exact wording that Star Child wants to amend. And so go to the, and you're welcome to amend this version, Star Child, that's fine. So since you're making the motion during this time of discussion. So let's go to Star Child's amendment. If you can find it, Mr. Secretary, in the chat and put that one up.
So is my understanding correct? Are we working to perfect the primary or working to perfect the substitute first?
Well, we're now on the substitute because Star Child moved it during our discussion of the substitute.
Right. Let me see if I can find it. Libertarian Party calls for the repeal.
it's at 1838 in the chat.
Okay, I gotta go further back. 38.
Well, actually, 1838 takes us back to a time when there was no income tax. So that's actually good.
Okay, what did you want to move here, Star Child? Because you have all individuals are entitled to keep the fruits of their labor, and then it says all individuals are entitled to decide how to allocate the fruits of their labor.
Yes.
Okay, where's that going?
How about just entitled
just-
to allocate? How about just entitled to allocate the fruits of their labor?
Yeah, I guess you don't really need to decide. That would be shorter. I was kind of trying to come up with the best wording there. I thought of dispose of the fruits of their labor, but then I thought, well, dispose sounds too much like just throw away, you know, so that didn't seem good.
Well, yeah, it seems like that's just changing one word would be a much more efficient amendment if that's.
Yeah, I'm amenable.
So changing keep to allocate as the only amendment. Is that what that would be okay then?
Yeah.
Okay, let's
In the
go
interest
for.
of keeping things shorter.
Is there any discussion on that amendment? Anybody with their hands up, do you wish
I want to discuss the amendment.
Okay, all right. Okay, go ahead.
I absolutely oppose the amendment to the point that I might vote against my own substitute if it passes. That is changing language that comes directly from the statement of principles. You don't do that. You don't do that. And I pyrotechnically oppose this amendment.
Okay, we don't want any fires going on here. Let's go back to, let's see, of those with their hands up, who wishes to speak on the amendment?
Mr.
The
Brown,
one word, yes.
just help me out here. Where is that one word supposed to go?
Oh, where it says, since we believe that all persons are entitled to keep the fruits of their labor, keep would be changed to allocate. Just the one word change. Keep there, yeah. Keep would change to allocate. Okay, so with the hands up, Mr. Brungart. Mr. Brungart, did you wish to speak on this?
I didn't mean for my hand to be up.
Okay, Mr. Taylor.
I would like to speak on something else, not this particular amendment.
Okay, and it looks like there's no one else wishing to speak on the amendment. Is there, obviously there was objection to this amendment. Oh wait, Star Child.
Yeah, to respond to Karen Ann, I think one way around this would be to rephrase that sentence so that it's not copying so closely the language of the statement of principles. But I honestly, Karen Ann, I think that we're saying something similar. I don't quite understand the dogma about the exact language here, because we're not changing the statement of principles. We're just, re-expressing it here in a slightly different way, just part of it. I don't see that as in any way undermining the statement of principles. If I did, I would join you in opposing it, because I don't want to undermine the statement of principles. But I think, if we were debating now the statement of principles, if we didn't have a statement of principles, if we were back in 1971 or whatever, and debating that, I would say that the word allocate would be better than the word keep in terms of creating that. And I think expressing it that way in this particular plank is showing that we can take the basic concept and phrase it maybe in a slightly different way without undermining it. Being able to allocate is better than, it's a broader freedom than being able to keep. If you say someone can keep their money, but they can't decide how they want to transfer it to others, well, that's, saying they're less free than if you let them. And I think what we really wanted all along was to let them decide how to dispose of their income and the fruits of their labors in any way they want. So I appreciate the spirit of your objection, but I can't really agree with it. I think you're blowing this up into something much bigger than it is.
Okay, Ms. Harlows, did you want to respond to that? Your hand
I
is
certainly
up.
did. You're
Yeah.
defeating the entire purpose of my substitute. I intended to keep it as it's historically been, which is the language of the statement of principles. I believe what you are doing is finding a way to amend the statement of principles in our platform without amending it with less than a 7/8 vote. Our statement of principles says what it says. You might not like the wording, but the wording is what it is. And what you are doing now by changing just one word is opening the door for a future platform to committee to go, well, let's now amend this word. And now let's amend this word, because we haven't kept the integrity and the argument that it mirrors the statement of principles, which was the intent of wording this plank this way for 50 years. And I just think it's a bit of chutzpah to think that we're going to go refine the statement of principles. I am not willing to do that. And considering one of my primary motivations was to honor the wording, the exact wording of the statement of principles, your amendment is completely bastardizing my whole intent. I would prefer you do a minority report rather than do that to my motion.
Okay, looks like no one else wishes to speak on the Star Child Amendment. So, Mr. Secretary, let's move to a vote on that.
Okay. We'll start with Mr. Bremen,
Aye.
Ted Brown,
Abstain?
Joe Brunhart,
Abstain.
okay, Sean Dempsey,
Nay.
Ken Matz,
Nay. No.
Josh McHose,
Nay.
that was a nay, I think. Okay, Homer Recurl will vote aye, yes. Mike Seebeck,
No.
Star Child,
Aye.
Curry Taylor,
Abstain.
and John Thompson,
Nay.
Karen Ann Harlos.
No.
Okay, Mr. Brown, Mr. Vice Chair, we have, did I miss anyone? I don't think so. We have 3 in favor, 6 opposed, 3 expressed abstentions.
Okay, the amendment fails. We're back to the main Harlos motion. To speak on that, Mr. Taylor.
Well, after all that discussion, I'm hesitant to offer my own change to this substitute, even though it is small.
Go for it.
But I do want to do it anyway because I think it is substantive. What I want to do is, okay, if I can find the language again. So I'm lost where we are.
Main motion.
Let's see, it should be down at the last thing on the screen there, the last text on the, but no, above the last text where it's in
Okay.
blue. Yeah, in blue up there.
Looking for the word call for.
Oh, that's right after the blue.
Further that end, we call for repeal of the income tax.
Yes, so I would like to, wait a minute, is that this? Okay. There's some phrase there that says call for the eventual repeal of all taxation.
Oh, that's in the blue part. That's at the
Okay,
end. of the
I'm
blue
not
part.
seeing it right now. Anyway,
Yeah.
I want to change the word call to strive. And I want to,
Paul
I would like
isn't
to-
There, Mr. Taylor.
Right.
I'm sorry
What's
for
that?
interrupting.
What's that?
Call isn't there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
it's
right.
for,
That's in the next sentence.
It's in violation of their individual rights and call for the eventual repeal of all taxation. That was in
Oh,
your
where? Hold
proposal.
on. No,
Oh, it's not on the screen, but maybe it was in the original.
yeah, he didn't put it on the screen. You are correct, Mr. Taylor.
Yeah, it's, and call for should be, was in the
Yeah.
original text.
Yep, it was.
Yeah, call for the event, after individual rights and then be call for the eventual repeal of all taxation was in the original motion. That's in the third line.
Oh, I keep missing stuff.
and
Yeah, see the call for.
Okay, give me 1 second, because I copied this from the list, and maybe that's where my mistake was. Give me
Yeah,
one.
because otherwise it would say we oppose the eventual repeal.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't want that.
yeah, we oppose
Thank
the
you, Mr.
eventual repeal
Taylor.
of all taxation. Yeah. Okay, so we have the,
Okay,
so Mr. Taylor wants to change the
so
call.
just simply change the word call to strive, and I would like to speak to that.
Sure, go ahead.
As a minarchist, I do believe strongly that taxation is theft. However, I am not convinced that it is possible, that it is completely physically possible to repeal all taxation, although I would love to see it. I'm not convinced it is possible. So therefore, in my mind, I'm always thinking, well, let's try this. Just try to repeal this tax. Let's try to repeal this tax. Let's try to get it as close to zero as we possibly can, if not zero. if you say call for the eventual repeal of taxation, you are demanding it completely without trying first to do it. And I think it's the effort to try, which is the most important to get there, because it's not going to happen with a snap of the fingers. I feel that that word strive will cover the concerns of the minarchists in that case. And I'm sorry if it conflicts with anything historical, or if it conflicts with the exact wording of the statements of principles. I think in this case, it's a justified and substantive change, and that's what I'm moving.
Okay, let's go to discussion. Mark Bremen.
Mr. Brown, hold on one moment.
Yes.
I'm or Miss Harless, help me out here. I'm struggling with this.
Okay. In the third line of the blue,
Where's the
where it says
correct one?
the call for the eventual, it should be
repeal of all-
strive. Yeah.
And call for the eventual repeal. I don't know why I'm not seeing that language anywhere.
Well, that's
It's in
because you
the
haven't didn't put
agenda,
it. Yeah, it's in the agenda
right
there,
there.
where it says call for, right
Oh,
there.
you see? Okay.
Yeah, call for
that's
the
the-
eventual repeal. Yeah.
That's the issue, is that I got it from the list and then you changed it on me. That's what the issue is. All right.
Right. So the call is the word that we're just debating right now.
All right. Give me 1 second and I'll have it on. Yep. Give me like 5 seconds and I'll have it on screen.
Sure.
Okay. I got it. I've got it now. I got it.
Further to the left there. Yeah. So. No, above that. Yeah. Yeah, to the left of that sentence where it says the eventual repeal of all taxation. Yeah. Call for, yeah, right before that. Yeah, call for. Right there. Okay, is that frozen up? Mr. Secretary, can you hear me? Hello?
We can,
Yeah, because I'm seeing it looks like my screen got frozen on that one. Are you typing in call for, Mr. Secretary? Oh, there it is. Okay, there we go. Call for.
when the
I think he's
secretary has
having some
time,
slowness.
Eric was
Okay.
also, our guest
we want-
was pointing out in the chat that some of the changed language hasn't been made blue, starting with a comma after Internal Revenue Service.
Right, yeah, that's true. So we're losing some people here, including the secretary. So maybe there's some sort of technical difficulty. Oh, here he is. Secretary is back. A couple other people have left. Okay, so the call for is added, but then Mr. Secretary, if you can add that continue bluing all the way down to U.S. Constitution. There, yeah.
No,
Yeah, that's because we changed the some of that wording from that amendment. Yeah.
but
Like
that
after Internal
wasn't
Revenue
in-
Service, maybe?
Okay, yeah.
Was it just after Internal Revenue Service that's changed, or was that?
Well,
whole
we changed it.
section?
We had little words here and there like the and taking out the, that sort of thing. So it's pretty much that whole sentence has changed a bit with punctuation and articles and things like that. So yeah, so that should be blue down to Constitution. There we go. There we go. Okay, now we're back to the, now we have the amendment to change just the word call to strive. And let's get that on the screen and then we'll know what we're discussing.
I'd like to move a possible modification of that change, if it's in order.
Okay, just a moment. Make sure everybody sees where we are. Yeah, that's right down there. Call would be changed to strive in this amendment. which might get up there. Looks like it's kind of frozen again.
I think we all understand where we're at, though, to
Yeah,
continue
okay.
debate.
Okay, Star Child, what were you going to propose?
I would call a point of order on that. That would be a third level amendment.
Okay, that's true. We're
Which
already
would
on
be-
a substitute and
okay.
we have an amendment. That's right.
I'll wait then.
Okay. All right, so we're on Strive.
Point of
Let's see,
order?
is there- Yes, who has the point?
The secretary has the first call. I was meaning to modify the first call,
Yeah.
not the second.
Oh, I misunderstood that also.
Yeah, no, it's the first call. It's about taxation, the repeal of taxation.
Thank
That's
you.
where he wanted it.
Oh, wait, I thought, isn't that where that is? Oh, right, correct. It should be the other one. Yes, I was seeing that wrong also. Yes, in the previous sentence where it says call for the eventual repeal of all taxation. Okay, I think it's frozen up again. There we go. Okay, that's what we got. Now, Star Child, what's your, oh no, we can't do Star Child's amendment yet. Okay, Mr. Dempsey, you're next.
Thank you. I would like to speak against this, though I'm not passionately. I really appreciate Mr. Taylor's statement here, and I would support the amendment, or I would support the language in either case, whether it was Paul or Strive. My only concern, or my only, I guess, objection would be why it's a philosophical one. I think we should be kind of shooting for the stars, and if you miss it, you hit the moon. It's like, why not be as purist as possible in our language, with the understanding that we're going to do and strive and push the legislator and public interest in as far as we can possibly do so. It seems almost implied that strive is where we're going to land, even if we call for call. And again, maybe that's the semantics, and like I said, I don't really care either way, but I just would suggest that the language was stronger before the motion. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Bremen.
Oh, I am supporting the use of the word strive. I think this is a good idea. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, Ms. Harless.
I have no objection. To the surprise of Mr. Taylor, who was expecting me to breathe fire, I actually agree with his sentiments. And to give a little historical background, a platform committee that I was on in the past, if you notice in the last sentence, it says to the extent possible. That was language I added as well for the same concerns that Mr. Taylor expressed. I always want peace between the anarchists in the party and the minarchists in the party. And to say strive, I believe it's possible, but what if it's not? It's no skin off my back, because strive means if I'm right, we get it. And if this will make it more palatable and easier for me to argue as committee chair to people in the audience that are not anarchist, I actually think Mr. Taylor's change is an improvement, and I support it.
Okay, very good. I don't see anyone else seeking to speak on this. So is there any objection to adopting strive as the amendment? Hearing none, it is adopted. We're back to the main motion. Who else wishes to speak to the main motion, which is actually the amendment as amended that we've been discussing? Does anyone else wish to discuss it? Seeing no hands raised.
Yes.
Star Child and Mr. Bremen's hands are raised.
Not on mic. Oh, wait. Oops. Yep. There we go. Okay. Star Child.
Yes, I would suggest the kind of issue I have with the way it is now, and this wasn't a result of the change of adding strive, but the eventual repeal of all taxation. Somewhere else in the platform, we say, I think something along the lines of, these changes are meant to take place as quickly as possible. In all likelihood, it will be eventual, but I don't think we need to plan for gradualism. I think if you plan for gradualism, you may never get it. But if you demand the change immediately, then you may get it gradually. So with that in mind, and to make it a little bit shorter, I would suggest we end that sentence by saying strive to end coercive taxation instead of strive for the eventual repeal of all taxation. Basically saying the same thing, but getting rid of the, problematic word eventual. Somebody could say, well, why are you trying to get rid of all these taxes now? It says in our platform that we want the eventual repeal of all taxation, but right now we're just trying to end the income tax or something like that.
Okay, well, take us through that exact wording a little slower for the.
Sure. Right now it says the sentence finishes strive for the eventual repeal of all taxation. And I'm proposing we say instead strive to end coercive taxation. We talk elsewhere, and the reason I add the word coercive is because we talk about voluntary funding. Generally, taxes are understood to be coercive, but it might be that part of the path to reform is kind of redefining that so that you have the idea that taxes could be voluntary. In a minarchist system, where there is still government, although I'm personally an anarchist, but minarchists, when I was a minarchist, I favored getting rid of coercive taxation, but not getting rid of something to fund the government, which could be called taxes, and I wouldn't have had a problem with that as long as it was voluntarily funded. I still think the road to anarchy, if that's where we end up, leads through something like that probably. So I think it's worth emphasizing that what we dislike about taxes is that they're coercive. The minarchists among us would probably like some mechanism for government to be voluntarily funded, and if we call that taxes, well, that's the language people are familiar with. It might go down easier with the general public. Say, well, we're not getting rid of any mechanism to tax and fund the government. We're just making it entirely voluntary as the system purportedly is now, but people of course really in reality get persecuted if they don't pay what the government says they owe.
Sir,
Okay.
so I share.
Okay, Mr. Secretary, are you going to get that up there, or you need to repeat it?
I'm trying to, but I have no idea where Star Child wants the language and what wants to add.
Where it says strive for the eventual repeal of all taxation, it would just be strive to end coercive taxation.
Okay, to end coercive taxation.
What are we striking?
For the eventual repeal of all taxation.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Okay, let's go back to the list here. Who wants to speak on this amendment? Let's see, Mr. Bremen.
No, actually, I wanted to suggest a different amendment. My apologies.
Okay, we're too deeply in, I believe.
Yep.
Ms. Harlows.
I won't cry if it passes, but I'm not in favor, and I'll explain why. This, and just to clarify from before, one reason why I so easily and amiably agreed to Mr. Taylor's amendment, the only language in here that is a direct quote from the Statement of Principles, just for everybody's benefit, is that all persons are entitled to keep the fruits of their labor. That's the phrase that comes from the Statement of Principles. Nothing else does. Taxation by definition is coercive. I don't think it's our job to start redefining the English language. Taxation is coercive. I think this then just opens the possibility for people to twist themselves in a pretzel to find non-coercive taxation, which to me is like a married bachelor. And we already talk about funding things in a voluntary manner in the last sentence of this plank.
Okay.
I had one last sentence. I think sometimes, and this can be weird coming from me, I think sometimes when we do some of these amendments, we engage in way too much navel gazing. And I don't find that particularly productive, but I won't cry if this passes, but I'm not going to vote for it. I'm not saying I'm going to vote against it, but I'm not in favor.
Okay, Mr. Requero, did you wish to speak on that?
Oh, no, I want to speak to the main motion. Well, not the
Okay,
main motion. I'm sorry, not the main motion, the substitute when we get to the substitute. I guess when we finally
Okay.
correct the language.
Okay, very well. And Star Child, your hand's still up. Did you wish to speak
Oh,
again on
no,
this?
I'm sorry. Let me take it down.
Okay, so there's no further discussion indicated on this particular amendment, the Star Child Amendment. Is there any objection to this amendment?
I object.
Okay, let's
Sure.
move to a vote, Mr. Secretary.
Yes. Okay. Mark Raymond,
Abstain.
Joe Brunhart,
No.
John Dempsey,
No.
Ken Metz,
No.
Josh McHose,
Nay.
Omar Okoro will vote aye. Mike Seebeck,
Nay.
Star Child,
Aye.
Corey Taylor,
No.
John Thompson,
No.
Karen Harles.
I've decided to vote no.
Okay.
And I'll vote no. I'll vote no also.
Okay, I was coming to you last, Mr. Brown, but all right. So we have, if I didn't miss anyone, 2 in favor and 9 opposed, 1 express abstention.
Okay, it fails. And so we're back to the main substitute proposal. Okay, let's see here. Mr. Dempsey.
I probably could have made this a motion to divide in the previous motion, but I didn't think of it in time. I would like to just motion to remove the word eventual. I think it reads better, and I think it allows us to have our cake and eat it too.
Okay, so that would be, Mr. Secretary, just the one word, call for the repeal of all taxation, removing the word eventual.
It'd be strive.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we strive for the repeal of all taxation.
For the repeal.
Right, so just eventual goes out of that one. Okay, discussion of that amendment. Let's see. Mr. Requero, did you wish to speak on that?
Nope, still waiting on the main.
Okay, Ms. Harlos?
I just, some background on why I chose that language. I went back to pre-Portland massacre platforms, and that's the language we've always used, was eventual repeal. And it seems to be what had, again, prior to Portland, nobody had seen fit to change. And the early party, I think, was generally far more radical than this party. And if they were okay with that, I'm kind of going with the wisdom of the ages. And I know this might sound shocking to some people. I would not push Rothbard's button. I think it's partly our fault that we've made people dependent on government, and to responsibly end it, that we need to ease them out, to be honest. So, and I think the word eventual in there is more palatable to people who aren't as radical as I am. And I'd like to see this pass. And I think, well, I absolutely agree, like with John Dempsey, like I'm being pragmatic here, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I'm putting a little bit of a fire on my more radical side, because I don't think I'm compromising principle to do it. And I'm honoring history, but I philosophically do not oppose what he says, but I just wanted to give the rationale why I, the fiery radical, did propose it.
Okay, looks like there's no other speakers on this, and I know there's some disagreement, so let's move to a vote on this amendment to remove the word eventual. Mr. Secretary.
Point of request for information, Mr.
Yes.
Brown. Is there objection?
It sounded like there was during the debate, but so, yeah, actually, I would object myself. So let's move to a vote.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what are you objecting to?
The amendment. I
Oh,
would
okay.
keep, I would keep eventual in there.
Okay.
It sounded like some other people would as well, so that's why.
Yeah. Just,
Okay, Mark Raymond,
Aye.
Ted Brown,
Nay,
Joe Brunhart,
Yes.
Sean Dempsey,
Yes.
Ken Matz,
Aye.
Josh McHose,
Nay.
Omar Rocco will vote nay. Mike Seebeck,
Aye.
Star Child,
despite having argued for this, I can kind of see both sides, but I think I'm gonna abstain on this.
okay, Curry Taylor,
I'll vote no.
John Thompson,
No.
Karen Harless,
What's the vote total?
5-5. Put it on screen right now.
Am I the last one?
Yes. If I didn't miss anyone.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Oh,
I meant to call upon Mr. Brown last, sorry.
I'm going to vote no. Sorry, Sean.
okay, that would be,
Logic made perfect sense to me. No, thank you.
so it looks like the amendment fails. We're back to the main motion. I
I
believe
want to
there's-
offer apologies to the committee for my expletive. Didn't mean to do that, actually. Sorry. Honestly, sorry.
Okay, I'll recognize Mr. Requero. He's been waiting to speak to the main amendment or the main substitute motion.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I have a feeling there's more amendments coming, but I guess I'll just get my point across now. I understand. Now I get where Miss Harless is coming from, and I understand it and I appreciate it. I'm still trying to, the language that I came up with versus this one, I felt like it makes more sense for today. I understand where the language came from yesterday. And I'm a little bothered. Please don't take this the wrong way, Ms. Harless. I'm a little bothered that the chair is basically giving us an ultimatum that's saying, if he passes, I won't argue for it. When I think that the changes in the main motion are kind of get us to the same place that this does, but in a cleaner way. So I read this as an angry journal diary, and I get it. Some of the language, not all of it, some of it comes from our old statement of principles.
No, our current statement of principles.
We rarely have changed the statement of principles, I believe.
It's our current, believe me, one thing I know, like,
Okay, let's see, Mr. Bremen.
Yes, I would like to make some amendments that will shorten things, just removing
Okay.
a couple of phrases. I don't know if they can be considered together because they're slightly separated in position. In the first sentence, I don't think we need the words "we believe that." Perhaps that Ms. Harless will object, but I'd like to hear if we just had "since all persons are entitled to keep the fruits of their labor." I don't think that conflicts with our statement of principles. Also, after what's underlined now in the sentence, we oppose any legal requirements forcing employers to serve as tax collectors. Again, to simplify the language, even though it's changing language that's in the existing plank, we oppose forcing employers to serve as tax collectors, removing the words any legal requirements.
Okay,
How else?
I think we should make those two separate amendments, Mr. Bremen, considering we don't have any other changes planned for that second part. So maybe we should do those as two separate amendments.
That's acceptable.
Okay, let's start with the first Bremen amendment, which was to change "since we believe that all persons" to just "since all persons are entitled to keep the fruits of their labor." That's the amendment. Discussion on that amendment, or let's wait for the secretary to get that up there.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to get my point across, and I didn't finish, but I'll come back. Give me a second.
Okay, it's the words 2, 3, and 4 of the, oh yeah, that's still going to be there. Yeah, so the second, third, and fourth words of the proposal, they're up on the first line, or is our new amendment.
Okay,
Yeah, we believe that would be eliminated.
we believe that. Okay, that's it.
Yep, we believe that. That's all.
Okay.
Okay, discussion on that amendment. Ms. Harlos?
Yes. First, though, I would like to address the comment the secretary had made before. One of my promises when I had run for committee chair was that I would upfront tell every committee member that if there was a proposal that I could not be the best advocate for, that I would let you guys know up front. I apologize if Mr. Ricuro took that as an ultimatum. I took it as keeping a campaign promise for this position, that I would always make sure that the majority proposals had the best chance of passing, and anything that has the best chance of passing has somebody who actually agrees with it arguing for it. And this is something I've done multiple times in my past chairmanship. There was a proposal in the past, I believe Mr. Taylor was on this committee, that I had Andy Craig argue because I absolutely did not believe in it.
Point of
now
order,
that-
is this speaking to the amendment, Karen?
Well, it's not, and I'm going to go back to that, but I felt that was important to say. Now, since I oppose deleting. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I don't. I think I misunderstood Mr. Bremen's. Mr. Bremen, is what's on the screen?
That's correct. That's his amendment.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm fine
Yeah.
then. No objection to the Bremen Amendment.
Okay. And looks like Mr. Requero, did you wish to speak on that, or you're still back on the main proposal? Okay,
Yes,
looks like,
still in the main, yeah.
okay, looks like no one else wishes to speak on the amendment. Is there any objection to deleting "we believe that" from this proposal? Hearing no objection, it is deleted. Okay, Mr. Bremen, your next amendment, which I believe was in the wording that is not currently underlined or that we
Yes.
had not considered any changes to before. This would be where you said, we oppose forcing employers to serve as tax collectors. It was that simple, delete
Correct.
any legal requirements?
Correct. Delete any legal requirements.
Okay. All right, wait for the secretary on that. This goes into the section that we have not been dealing with so far. Okay, in the non-bold area. Yeah, there we go. So then the non-bold area after the proposal here, where it says we oppose any legal requirements, it would just delete any legal requirements. And did you want to speak to that, Mr. Bremen?
I think it's self-evident, but yeah.
All right, there we go. That's correct. Okay, Ms. Harlos.
Just wanted to know I had no objection.
Okay, looks like there's no other discussion proposed on that. Is there any objection to that amendment? Hearing none, it's adopted. And we're back to the main
Point of
substitute
order.
proposal. Yes, Mr. Seebeck.
I was trying to raise my hand and my phone was being thing. What exactly is being stricken here? Because I'm having trouble reading this on the screen.
Oh, okay. Currently it says in the plank, we oppose any legal requirements forcing employers to serve as tax collectors. This would tighten it up to say, we oppose forcing employers to serve as tax collectors. So deleting the any legal requirements part.
Okay, I'm cool. Thank you.
Okay. So is there any objection to that amendment? Hearing none, the amendment is adopted. We're back to the main proposal. And let's go to Mr. Requero, who's been trying to speak on the main proposal. As soon as he's ready.
Yeah, give me a moment. If someone else wishes to speak, they could go ahead of me. I just need to catch up on some things here.
Okay, we'll come back to you in a minute. Mr. Taylor.
I have a request for information. Did we lose, this may be a part of the substitute, but I think we lost the phrase and to determine which mediums of exchange they will accept for their personal transactions. That may be a part of the substitute proposal that we're working on, to not have that language in there.
No, it's in the original proposal, but not in the substitute proposal.
Okay, I just didn't know if that was a mistake or if that was intended.
You can always move that as an amendment to the substitute.
I don't want to move it. I just wanted to know if that was intended to be removed.
Okay. All right, Mr. Requero, are you ready?
Yeah. Give me a second. Okay, so going through the statement of principles, I must be missing it. I must be missing it. Just going on the platform site.
No, and you might be correct. I may be misremembering, or remembering some historical arguments I read. And if the committee, since I did vote no, I would have standing to move to reconsider, because I'm still going to vote against it. Probably. I don't know. No, maybe not. If people were swayed by my argument of keep being in the statement of principles, I think Mr. Ricuro is right. And I had a brain burp on the word keep it being in there. I don't want to be unfair to Starchild with his allocate argument. So when it becomes appropriate, since I was on the winning side, I would, when the chair decides it's appropriate, I would move to reconsider the Starchild amendment, since some of the argument was based upon a misstatement of fact by me. And I don't want people to be swayed by that. I would have sworn on my non-existent firstborn child, but Mr. Ricuro is correct.
Okay, are you moving that reconsideration?
I don't think that's in order. Is it in order right now? I don't.
Well, we don't have an amendment on the floor at the moment.
Then I'm moving to reconsider the Starchild amendment to change keep to allocate in light of a misstatement of fact.
All right. Is there discussion about that reconsideration? Let's see.
I appreciate it. I'm somewhat confused, but
yeah, Mr. Dempsey just popped up on that one. Mr. Dempsey.
Well, I forgive me for, I feel like we already voted on that. I still feel like it's stronger with the word keep. I guess I'll just leave it at that. And but I understand that maybe people voted with facts not accurate or something to that effect. But I like it the way it's written personally, and I'll be voting that way. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Taylor.
Sorry, hands up.
Okay, and Ms. Harless, let me ask you about parliamentary procedure here. Would we vote to reconsider, meaning we're reconsidering immediately the wording, or are we going to vote whether to reconsider?
Yeah, first you have to vote whether or not to reconsider. And then it would be as if Starchild proposed the amendment afresh.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, is there any objection to reconsidering the amendment? Hearing none. Wait, was there objection? Hearing none. Let's go back to the Starchild amendment as being reproposed again to change keep the fruits of their labor to allocate the fruits of their labor. So we're going to be back to that particular proposal. Let me wait for Mr. Secretary to get that back up there. All right, discussion on that. Let's see, Ms. Harless.
First, I deeply apologize to Starchild for giving incorrect information. And I thank the secretary for looking that up. It's a good exercise in humbling when you think you know something so well that you rely upon memory, and this goes to show why sometimes you can't rely upon memory. However, I don't know how I'm going to vote. I'd like to hear what everyone has to say without that. I do think in the context of this plank being taking things from people, I think keep is more appropriate. Obviously, throughout the plank, we talk about how you can do what you want with your own stuff, but that requires you keeping your own stuff. So I think allocate adds in a concept that really doesn't belong here. But with it not being part of the original wording of the statement of principles, I won't cry if it passes.
Okay, it looks like, Mr. Bremen.
I would like to speak in favor of this. I voted for it before, but somewhat contrary to the opinion expressed by Ms. Harlos, the whole point of keeping something is eventually to allocate it. No one dies, no one takes it with them when they die. And so it's the allocation, and even a person who has as much as Elon Musk has pointed out lately that it is his view that it's his responsibility to allocate capital because he can do it better than private individuals can do it better than government. I think the allocation is the important point, is that individuals do it better than government. And I like that both Mr. Musk and Starchild have agreed on this point. Thank you.
Okay, it doesn't look like anyone else wishes to discuss this. So let's, is there any objection to this amendment to change keep to allocate?
I don't have an objection, but I would like there to be a roll call vote on it.
Okay, that's not a problem. Mr. Secretary, can you call the roll on that one?
Yes. Mark Raymond,
Aye.
Joe Brunhart,
No.
Sean Dempsey,
No.
Ken Matz,
Abstain.
Josh McHose. Omar Rockrell will vote nay. Mike Seebeck,
No.
Starchild,
Aye.
Curry Taylor,
No.
John Thompson.
No.
That was a no.
That was a no.
Okay. Ms. Harlos.
Abstain.
Okay. Mr. Brown, do you wish to vote?
Yes, I'll vote no.
Okay. That brings us to, did I miss anyone? Did I miss anyone? That brings us 2 in favor, 8 opposed, 2 express abstentions. 145.
Okay, the amendment fails. And we're back to the main substitute proposal as amended. Mr. Bremen.
Oh, that was a residual. I'm sorry, I didn't remove it. I'm lowered.
Okay, no problem. Is there any further discussion of this of the Harlow substitute? Mr. Requero.
Yes, so let me finish my thoughts now. I mentioned this on the list last night about how I'm not happy with the amount of time we're spending on non-platform things and how much I enjoy the debate, because this committee can be a wonderful educational tool. So I thank the chair for acknowledging that she made a mistake, and it happens. We're all human. It's all good. And that's the beauty of these debates. They're more productive here than on the internet, I swear. And I'm reading the room right now, and I don't like the temperature right now, but I'm asking the committee to please vote the substitute down and consider the main proposal that I proposed that was workshopped on the list. I think it speaks more to what we're dealing with today. I think it says what we're trying to say in a better way. I think that this reads, again, like an angry journal diary. I hate the government, and this is why. But I appreciate the historical context that Ms. Harlos was trying to bring into the argument. I believe that you can argue, at least that's my hope. I believe that the chair can argue this or the main proposal. And I think the main proposal is cleaner. I hope that the committee will not adopt the substitute. And I won't go to a minority report. I'm not a fan of minority reports, so I'm not going to make a minority report. So if someone else wishes to move my language, move the primary motion as a minority report, have at it. I'm not in support of the substitute motion right now as worded. The idea of it, yes, of course. I'm as much as an anarchist as anybody is, but I just think that the platform would read better with the changes in the primary motion versus the substitute. Thank you.
Okay, it doesn't look like anyone else is seeking to speak on this. So why don't we move to a vote on whether to substitute this motion? Mr. Secretary. And this vote would be to substitute the Harlow's proposal for the Requero proposal.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if you would allow me just to remind everyone that once the substitute becomes the main motion, no further amendment can be done to it except to add language, just to make sure that no one is wishing to make any further amendment, because they might not be aware that they can't amend the middle of it, let's say further.
Well,
can
so
only add.
would that mean that sentence about the transactions could be added at that point, or would that need to be added now if someone wanted to add it?
No, it could be added later because would be at the end, but I would note that plank 2.7 already includes that language.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that,
Yes.
because that is
Yes.
part of that other proposal. Okay. All right, let's move to a vote then. As soon as the secretary is ready. Mr. Secretary, are you ready on that ballot?
Yes, sorry, I was on mute. Mark Raymond.
So let me make it clear. If I vote nay, that means we're sticking with Mr. Requero's original language.
Correct, and then we can debate that.
So I will vote nay. After all the changes, I tried to make it as good as possible, but I'm going to vote nay.
Brunghart,
Yes.
Sean Dempsey,
Yes.
Ken Knotts,
No.
Josh McHouse,
Aye.
Omar Requero will vote nay. Mike Seebeck,
Aye.
Darchild,
Vote yes.
Barry Taylor,
Abstain.
John Thompson.
Abstain.
Can you give me that again, John?
Abstain.
And Ms. Harlos?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Brown, do you wish to vote?
Yes, I'll vote yes also.
Okay. If I didn't miss anyone, we have 7 in favor, 3 opposed, 2 express abstentions.
Okay, motion passes and is now the main motion. Let's see if there's any further discussion here. Mr. Requero, do you have any further discussion?
No, let me put my hand down. I'm gonna vote no.
Okay, is there any further discussion of the motion now that it's the main motion, or any further amendments to that we didn't previously consider? Seeing,
What was the title of this motion? I mean, the title of this plank?
this is called, that was part of the original proposal, was to change it to personal income and government finance, but that was not on the substitute. So
No, my substitute didn't include changing the name.
so it would still be government finance and spending, the same as it was previously.
So right now in the platform, it is government finance and spending.
Correct. And then the proposal is to keep that and to add the wording that we just voted on as a substitute. Okay, Mr. Thompson.
Could we if it would be in order, I'd like just a minute to kind of look over it and think about that title and whether we might want to change
Okay.
the title before adopting,
Okay, we'll come back to
given
you,
the given the changes that we made here.
Okay, we'll come back to you. Mr. Thompson.
Blank 2.4, finance and spending is fine the way it is. We spent all this time editing something that didn't need to be edited at all. I strongly encourage everyone to vote no on this.
Okay, Mr. Brungart.
Yeah, can we get the current platform language on the screen next to the proposal, please?
Okay, let's see. I can probably put that together just from what's been X'd out of the original proposal here. I believe it's all persons are entitled to keep the fruits of their labor. We call for the repeal of the income tax, the abolishment of the Internal Revenue Service, and all federal programs and services not required under the U.S. Constitution. We oppose any legal requirements forcing employers to serve as tax collectors. No. Was that in there before? No. We support any initiative to reduce or abolish any tax and oppose any increase on any tax for any reason. To the extent possible, we advocate that all public services be funded in a voluntary manner. I believe that's the existing wording.
I have it on screen.
There we go.
That was correct.
Okay. So further discussion, Ms. Harlows.
I believe at this point, a motion to change the title would not be in order. I just want to proactively say that I would raise a point of order. Of course, it would be up to the chair to rule. My proposal did not include changing the title. I made it clear before we voted on it that the only changes that could be done after it was amended was additions. So I do think if someone wanted to change the title, they'd need to do that as a separate proposal, entirely separate from this.
Okay, yeah, no one's made a proposal as of yet. Okay, Starchild, we're back to you. Do you have anything?
Well, I would like to make such a proposal if and when it's in order. I've never really understood exactly what changes, are appropriate and why at what time in this process. Just looking at the wording of the plank and thinking about the current title, government finance and spending, it seems to me that there's nothing about spending in the languages plank at all. And I think it would be better titled government revenue. So we're talking about taxes and revenues.
Okay, it seems to me, even though in countering what Ms. Harlow said, that since this is not something that we debated previously, it's something different and a totally different name is being proposed here. I would say that it would be in order to propose government, what did you say, government revenue?
Yes.
Okay, to change the title of the plank to government revenue. So did you want to speak to that that exact amendment?
Yeah, I kind of just did. Basically, just trying to accurately reflect what the plank is talking about. I think we may, without looking at the platform, but we may address specific government spending and other planks. I don't think the current title is accurate to what the plank actually deals with now, having made these changes.
Okay, discussion on this amendment. Seeing no one else is discussing it, is there an objection to this amendment?
Object.
Okay. Let's move to a vote on that for changing the title of the plank to government revenue. There's to speak.
Maybe in order
Dempsey.
to hear discussion of the objection.
Yeah, Mr. Dempsey.
Yes, I was. Well, no, I'll actually withdraw my hand. I want to formulate my thoughts a little bit more. Go on. Sorry.
Okay, well, we're gonna move to a vote on this amendment at this point because no one else wishes to speak on it. So,
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Secretary.
So you're saying that it's in order to amend the title at this time. Is that what you're saying?
Right, because it wasn't an area that we discussed previously. So, so government revenue would be the new title according to this proposal.
I will say something if it's still in order.
Sure, go ahead.
If it is in order to change the title, I don't know if this is 2 levels deep or 3 levels deep, but perhaps, I would actually do something a little bit more libertarian with the title and call it like something with the effect of using the term legal plunder involved. I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head, but I'm drawing a blank. Sorry, but I object to the name government revenue. It almost validates government's ability to collect revenue, which of course I think most of us disagree with.
Well, just the one word taxation might do it. I'm not sure if we have any other plank with that name. I don't believe so.
I'd be amenable to that. Yeah, taxation. I think Sean's point is well taken. I don't think it would be horrible to call it government revenue, but we might do better.
Okay. Let's see. Any discussion about changing changing to the proposal would be just taxation would be the name of the plank instead of government revenue. This is like an amendment to the amendment.
Objection.
We're okay on that because we're on the main motion. Yeah.
Objection. Orders of the day.
Well, we have about 2 minutes left. So the orders are to continue
I
until
move to extend for 15 minutes or until this plank is disposed of, whichever comes first.
Objection.
Seconded.
okay. Was that seconding the motion or seconding the objection?
Seconding the motion. Sorry.
Okay. No need for a second though. All right. Is there any objection to extending until this is resolved or 15 minutes has elapsed?
No objection.
Okay. Let's move to a vote on that, Mr. Secretary.
Apologies, Ted. Could you restate what we're voting for? I missed that.
To extend time for 15 minutes
okay.
or
Yes.
the disposal of this proposal, whichever comes first. Okay, move to a vote on that.
Yeah. Mark Bremen.
Aye.
Joe Brunghart.
Yes.
Sean Dempsey.
Yes.
Ken Metz.
Aye.
Josh McHose.
Aye.
Omar Farrow votes no. Mike Seebeck.
Abstain.
Starchild.
Aye.
Corey Taylor.
Aye.
John Thompson.
No.
Karen Ann.
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Brown, do you wish to vote?
I'll abstain.
Okay, give me 1 second here. Extend. That's what we're doing. And I'll get it on the screen. You're going to abstain, you said? So
Yes.
Get you marked as abstain. Okay. I show 8 in favor, 2 opposed, 2 express abstentions. If I didn't miss anyone at 11 p.m.
Okay, we're extended. And we're back to the amendment to the amendment that would say the plank would be called taxation rather than government revenue. Is there any discussion of that particular amendment? Just calling it taxation. Mr. Dempsey?
Point of order.
Yes.
When did that happen? I thought it was government revenue. When did we get to taxation?
I motioned to change it to taxation.
That's
Okay.
right. Mr. Dempsey moved that. So
Okay,
that's an amendment to the amendment.
Okay, I missed that. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't looking at the screen there on that. Okay. All right, Mr. Taylor.
I'm in favor.
Okay, Ms. Harlows.
I'm actually opposed because we talk about, and again, in a nod to try to unite the clans, to voluntary funding later on in this plank, acknowledging that in minarchy, there would be services that do need to be funded. So calling it taxation kind of poisons the well to me. I think ultimately this is about government revenue. I would not object to the government revenue title change. I would object to the taxation change.
Okay, Mr. Seebeck.
Yeah, I object to both changes because if you look at the way the wording is, we also call for the abolishment of all federal programs and services not required under the Constitution. Those are spending issues and finance issues, not just revenue. Revenue is accumulating it. Spending is what you do with it. We cover both in this platform.
Okay, Mr. Dempsey.
I actually was swayed by Ms. Harless's argument. I will, if it's in order, I will retract my motion to amend.
Well, it's with the body.
Okay, sure.
Okay, Star Child.
Oh, apologies. I had my hand up from before, but
Okay.
since you're recognizing me, I'll just suggest taxation and revenue as a possible title that would address some of the objections that have been raised, which I think everyone's points have been well taken here. I'm not sure exactly at this point what's the best title, but I can see pluses and minuses to various things.
Okay, well, save that because we have too many amendments at the moment. Okay, Mr. Thompson.
The existing title of Government Finance and Spending, as Mr. Seebeck pointed out, covers what the plank talks about and should not be.
Okay, looks like there's no further discussion here. Let's first move to the a vote on the.
I actually had my hand raised.
Oh, you did again. Oh,
relatedly.
you had it up again. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
I did. It's funny. I do enjoy this back and forth because that I'm pleased that I persuaded Mr. Dempsey and now Mr. Seebeck persuaded me. So just wanted to put on the record that I'm now back in favor of leaving the title alone.
Okay, very well. So let's move to a vote here on these amendments. First, the amendment to change it to taxation. Is there any objection to that amendment? I assume there is. So let's move to a vote.
Okay, Mark
This is on
Raymond,
taxation. Yeah.
Nay.
Joe Brunhart,
No.
John Dempsey,
As funny as it is to me, I'm going to vote nay on my own.
Ken Knotts,
No.
Josh McHose,
Nay.
I will abstain. Omar Crow abstains. Mike Seebeck,
Nope.
Starchild.
Nope.
Curry Taylor,
No.
John Thompson,
Nope.
Karen Ann.
No,
Okay. And Mr. Brown, do you wish to vote?
I'll vote no also.
Okay. That brings us to 0 in favor, 11 opposed, and 1 expressed abstention.
Okay, that fails. Now let's go to the vote on changing to government revenue. Let's take the next ballot on that, Mr. Secretary.
Point of order, sorry, quick question.
Yes, Mr. Dempsey.
Would it be in order to make another recommendation for title change, or are we too many levels deep at this point?
Well, no, actually, we eliminated that amendment, so no, we could take one more amendment at this point.
I realize the clock is ticking, so forgive me, please don't hate me, guys, but I really like Mike Seebeck's suggestion of changing it to government theft and redistribution. I think that was the wording I was looking for earlier, and it's in chat.
I was being sarcastic.
I like it.
It kind of works. I mean,
That's an
covers
interesting
the
one.
spending part, which you made a good point about, Mike, that it is sort of alluded to, although the plank doesn't say much about it, but implicitly federal government programs and services are spending. I agree with the point that was made that just saying revenue is kind of too neutral. It almost sounds like a positive thing, and taxation is theft. So,
Okay.
as are coercive fees and other things that wouldn't be covered under the word taxation, which was another point somebody made.
Okay, let's stick with the discussion on theft and redistribution. Ms. Harless.
Okay, number one, there is no way in the world this will pass convention and it will tank this whole plank and all the work we've done. Please don't do that. We may love it personally in-house, and I may think it's like the ultimate in libertarian porn, but it will not pass convention. And in chat, please read the room. And please, can we dispose of this tonight? I urge you all, let's just leave the title alone.
Okay, Mr. Seebeck.
Yeah, I know I put that in chat, but I was being sarcastic. I would not support changing it either.
Okay. Nobody else wishes to discuss this. Let's move to a vote on this amendment regarding theft and redistribution, government theft and redistribution. Mr. Secretary.
One sec.
Mr. Dempsey says he would like to withdraw his motion, and he's allowed to do that if there's no objection to him
I
withdrawing.
object.
Okay, there's been an objection. And it doesn't look like we have the opposite of, is there any objection to this proposal? And then it automatically passes to say, is there any acceptance of this proposal? And it automatically fails. So we have to go to a vote on this.
Mr. Brown, call the roll.
Yes, please.
Okay, Mark Ramey,
Nay.
Joe Brunhart,
Abstain.
Matt Choco. Oh wait, why do I have Matt Choco here? Sorry.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, Sean Dempsey.
Abstain.
I'm missing somebody here. Ken Max,
No.
Josh McHose.
Oh.
Okay, I will vote aye. Mike Seebeck,
No.
Star Child,
Taxation as theft has become very popular. I think it actually could pass convention. I'm going to vote for it, although I understand the reservations.
Curry Taylor,
No.
John Thompson,
No.
Ms. Harlos.
No.
Okay, did I miss anyone other than Mr. Brown? All right, I gotta fix my sheet here. Mr. Brown, do you wish to vote?
Yes, I'll vote no also.
Okay, that brings us 2 in favor, 8 opposed, 2 express abstention.
Okay, fails. And so where we are now is we have the original title of the plank, but with the new wording from the substitute motion that we passed previously, which is now the main motion. Are we ready to vote on that, or is there any further discussion? Looks like Mr. Bremen.
I would just like to say that I think I'm going to end up voting no on this plank. We have too many proposals. We won't get them passed all by the committee as a whole, the convention as a whole. I just think that we need to encourage emphasizing a smaller number of proposals, and there just aren't big enough changes in this proposal to make it worth spending any of the convention's time on it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And doesn't look like anyone else wishes to speak. So let's move to a vote on this, on the main motion here. Mr.
Point of
Secretary.
personal privilege.
Yes. Star Child.
I just thinking about what Mark was saying, could we have the current language and the proposed language up again to look at?
Okay. Let's see, Mr. Secretary.
What was the request?
In all the discussion, I've kind of lost
The current plank.
sense in my
I know I
mind
read-
of how much changes we're actually making here.
Yeah, I read it out loud before. It's probably better to have it on the screen though, the
Yeah.
current language and then the proposed language.
The current language. You want to see the current language of the current main
Right,
motion?
That's
Right,
actually up now. I see that under the 2.4 on the screen. And then I guess we scroll up a little bit. I think we'll be able to see the
Point of
The current-
personal privilege.
This is it, Star Child, right here.
But who
where
had
it
the
says
point?
since all persons. Okay. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, who had the point of personal privilege?
It was
I did.
me.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay, yes, Ms. Harless.
I think it's somewhat incumbent upon committee members to have a copy of the current platform in front of them, be it print if you're on a phone right now and you can't do that easily, so that we're not, this keeps happening and it's wasting a lot of time. I don't know how committee members don't have the current platform in front of them.
Okay, so it looks like the current wording is up there. And the proposal is in blue just above that. Okay, let's move to a vote, Mr. Secretary.
Sorry, point of personal privilege again. Could we just have maybe 30 seconds or a minute to look at this?
Okay, we only have 3 minutes till we adjourn, so please read as fast as you can. And we might have lost the secretary there.
I'm back. I'm sorry.
Okay,
My internet today is just so unstable, I swear.
you were probably, it probably was knocked out by the NSA when they realized what you were doing with it.
Mr. Brown, quick question. What are we on? Are we not on the first title change?
No, we're done with that. I think we rejected all that, didn't we?
No, we didn't reject government revenue. We rejected taxation and government theft and redistribution.
Oh, I apologize. Okay. Well, that's an easier one. Is there any, let's see. Yeah, we have to vote. No, we did vote on that. Government, wait a minute. Before we voted on it, that's when the amendment came up. You're right. Okay, so let's vote on the amendment, calling it government revenue.
I suppose it'd be out of order for me to withdraw that now. I think
It
good
would
points are
not
made.
be if there's no objection to you withdrawing it.
Is there any objection to Star Child withdrawing that motion or that amendment?
I do object, but I'm reading the room, so I'm not going to.
Okay, thank you. And so let's go to a vote on the main motion then,
Yes.
as amended.
Mark Raymond.
No.
Okay. Joe Brunhart,
Pass.
Sean Dempsey,
Yes.
Ken Matz,
Aye.
Josh McHose,
Aye.
Omar Curl votes nay. Mike Seebeck,
This is on the main motion, right?
Correct, yes.
Aye.
Starchild,
I'm going to vote nay. Mark convinced me that I like the changes, but it just doesn't seem to me like they're substantive enough.
Starchild,
You can't-
Starchild,
Yeah, you don't talk during voting.
Barry Taylor,
Aye.
John Thompson.
Nay.
Okay, Ms. Harlos.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Brown.
I vote aye.
Okay. I'm gonna get that on screen for you guys. And Joe Brunhart.
Abstain.
Okay, Mr. Brown, if I didn't miss anyone, we have 7 in favor, 4 opposed, 1 express abstention.
Okay, the motion passes and at a convenient time as well. It's 10:15 and the orders of the day are for adjournment.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Brown, for handling that portion of the meeting. I
Glad to.
truly appreciate it. So we're meeting on Wednesday,
The 14th.
the
Madam Chair.
14th, so Thursday.
Thursday.
Okay, and I will have out an agenda, which is just going to follow the things that are already on there. So I suggest everyone take a look at what's coming up. And thank you. I will end the recording, but if anyone wants to stick out for a little discussion, like sometimes we do afterwards, feel free. But you're
I
also
just want to
obviously.
say, sorry.
Go ahead. I'm
I was
sorry.
going to say, this is Karen, thank you, by the way, for posting an email, the proposed language for the survey introduction. I appreciate that. I haven't had a chance to respond to it yet, but I'll look that over and see if I have any suggested modifications or anything.
All right, thank you. We're adjourned at actually it's 9:16, 11:16 Eastern. I'm stopping the recording.